You even talked about the kind of sex you like.
Tell you it did. In the first film, They Won't Forget.
Lana Turner had a private chat with journalist Florence Wagner in 1994, just a few months before she died. Wagner had been with Turner for almost 20 years, on a tape that was kept secret until 2023 when it was found out. Lana, who was fighting cancer at the time, let out a soft sigh and said something that made the whole crew stop talking. "I've loved 7 women, and all of them made me hate myself in the end." No one would have thought that the most famous sex icon in Hollywood, who used to make movie moguls and even presidents bow in awe, had a list of loves that was made up of only women. What shocked people even more was who those 7 actors were. These were legends who were seen as the most beautiful women in American movie history. That being said, what are the 7 names Lana Turner said she hated the most? In today's movie, everything will be shown. One was The Secret Lover with Greta Garbo. No one could talk about Greta Garbo. In the 1930s, the famous movie star wowed audiences with parts like Queen Christina and Grand Hotel. She moved out of the public eye in 1941 and lived in secret in an old house on Franklin Avenue in Los Angeles. A quiet relationship between Garbo and Lana Turner, who had just recovered from a mental breakdown at Cedars of Lebanon Hospital, began in early 1946. Not many people knew about it. The first time they met was at a private show of Man Ray's art on the 3rd floor of the Getty Villa Museum in Malibu. On that day, Garbo wore all black and a silk hat that covered half of her face. Lana, on the other hand, looked beautiful in an ivory Dior dress. After a few weeks, Lana started going to the Franklin Avenue house often, but there were never any clocks there. The blinds were always drawn tight, and classical music played in the background all night. However, those first lies quickly turned into a fixation. Lana found a small secret camera cleverly hidden inside an old RCA photo while looking for medicine in a drawer on a rainy night in April. Its lens was aimed straight at the bed. A few days later, a movie clip of her asleep with her hair all over the place was sent straight to her agent at MGM, along with no message or information about who sent it. Right away, Lana was called to the studio's office in Culver City and made to sign an addition to her contract called a morality agreement. During the term of the contract, this document tightly prohibited all homosexual relationships, even ones that were not public. After some time, Lana remembered, "This promise made me treat my own feelings like they were a crime." However, this harsh rule was not what hurt the most. A few weeks after the threats, Lana saw a strange woman leave Garbo's house early one morning. It was French photographer Marie Dubois, who had lived with Garbo in Zurich in 1943. Lana was speechless at that time. She saw that she wasn't the only one and that Garbo's first love wasn't either. She was just the most recent woman in a long queue of them. Garbo stayed close until a more interesting person showed up. When asked about her connection with Garbo in 1953, Lana said, "I once thought I was the last chapter in her life, but then I realized I was just a recurring scene." 2. Barbara Stanwyck, the start of a bad turn of events. Anytime someone asked Lana Turner about the first time she felt love, she wouldn't say it was with a guy. Instead, she would name Barbara Stanwyck right away. When people asked her if she felt bad about what she did, she always gave a strong answer. "I just wish I had known sooner that it wasn't love." In September 1941 at the Paramount studio, Lana had just turned 20 and was still shaking with excitement over her first lead part since Ziegfeld Girl was such a hit. Barbara walked into the lighting test room without knocking. She was wearing a gray silk blouse and carrying a black coffee. She didn't look at anyone with her cold eyes. Everyone else put their heads down. Lana was the only one who looked up. All the things that would happen in her life over the next 3 months were set by her first look up. Barbara has never been in love. She only picked people she could use against them, to keep the rumors about her broken marriage to Robert Taylor at bay. Barbara needed a public lover. She also wanted to hide the long night she spent with a married director who had a wife and 2 kids. Lana had no idea at all. She thought she was unique, especially after Barbara took her back to bungalow number 5 behind the Beverly Hills Hotel. Lana was shocked to learn that at least 3 other actors had stayed there before her, including one who tried to kill herself but failed. The story began with some pale blue pills that Barbara called creative stress relievers. Lana did the same thing because she wanted to be like Barbara, who was chilled, sure of herself, and independent. After taking pills, she started drinking. She passed out on the couch after drinking, while Barbara stayed calm and signed contracts with big names in the distribution business. The company didn't ignore what was going on. They watched and took notes. The next night, Lana got an offer to Louis B. mayor's private office, just one night after being photographed with Barbara by the paparazzi at Club Del Mar. She had to sign a morality agreement there, and it had a short but scary phrase in it. Do not have any secret relationships with female co-workers without first getting permission from the head of the PR department. All of Lana's prescription drugs were taken away that same day, and her private nurse vanished without a trace. It was written in her notebook, "I was treated like a depreciating asset." It all came together one night at the end of December. Lana showed up early at the house and saw Barbara serving drinks to a director who had just won an award at Venice while wearing nothing but a bathrobe. A married man who flatly refused to give Lana a part, saying she was too shallow. Lana ran off and passed out in front of the hotel. The official news said she was in the hospital because she was so tired, but she had actually had a serious nervous breakdown and was having withdrawal seizures. She was not seen by many people during the winter. People said she looked smarter and calmer when she came back with the movie. Marriage is a private affair, but that wasn't grown up. It was just the psychic effects that were stifled by medicine. Lana lost faith in her own feelings because of Barbara. The next person she met would make her lose faith in everyone, even herself. And Anne Sheridan was the most frightening person Lana Turner could remember. Number 3. Anne Sheridan. A friendship built with the intention of controlling it. Anne Sheridan was once one of Lana Turner's few sources of support. She made her feel safe during the most stressful days after her third divorce, when the press was constantly at her side. Anne stood out from the crowd because she was wearing a beautiful black dress. They met for the first time at the Los Angeles opening of the movie The Fountainhead in the middle of 1949. As I stood close, I could clearly see Lana pause and then laugh out loud. It was her first smile in weeks after having a square neckline. She leaned in close to Lana and whispered something in her ear that no one else could hear. But Lana's stand-ins didn't know that every time she smiled, she was telling secrets from her failed marriage to Anne's personal assistant in order to avoid renting an apartment on Franklin Avenue under the name Evelyn Moore of Gloom. After that, the two started looking for Mirror. A small tape recorder called a reaver was steadily recording everything that was said. Then something strange happened. In October 1949, Lana got a package in the mail one night that didn't have a return address. And inside was a tape recording of the private talks she had with Scandal. At the very end there was a small piece of paper with the words "We have," and an accompanying copy of a handwritten letter Lana had sent to MGM, expressing her desire to renew her contract after the divorce are directorly dating. A pentry that they could rent by the hour was where they met. There was no sign of it. But just 2 days later, Lana was abruptly fired from the movie The Starlet's Confession by director Irving Cummings, who said she was emotionally unstable. There were no more calls to the office. All advertising deals were put on hold. And on October 14, 1949, Lana Ada was after being locked in her room for 8 hours. Fred Halverson, who works as a guard at the Beverly Carlton Hotel, has a bottle of Nembutal. The first person to find her did a lot more than this. Tell your boss if you think your job will still be safe after a gay affair is found out. He had seen that Alana's radio had been on non-stop for 3 hours with the lights still on. From the inside the door was locked. When he broke in, he saw Lana passed out, with her hair wet and stuck to her face and blood running from a hand that had been hit by broken glass. To be at peace, Lana was lucky to be alive after being in a coma for 3 days. But the story spread very quickly. A Rose was killed by Clarice Morel, a writer for the Hollywood Spotlight. In 48 hours the story spread a cable with the words "If I'm not pure enough to be loved, then at least I want Across America," written in red lipstick. Anne Sheridan never came to see her, but exactly 1 week later she showed up at the Motion Picture Herald Awards ceremony with producer Jack M. Warner. Citizen News was the first to report the story. With the headline, "She smiled radiantly wearing a gift Lana had specially ordered from Tiffany's, a sapphire bracelet." Anyone who had been following the story knew that Anne Sheridan, who was a laughingstock in front of 83 powerful eyes in July, was the biggest winner in this love affair. At that moment, Tula Bankhead, the woman who made it big in Hollywood, was wearing the bracelet. Lana met Tula at a movie party at the Garden of Allah Hotel in September 1948. Tula turned Lana Turner into, but they never talked about it in public. At that point, Lana was still a place where having an affair outside of marriage was seen as normal. She was still trying to get over a public breakup that made a lot of noise when Tula walked in out of the blue and offered her a gin and tonic. She then told her to show up, half jokingly and half seriously, and introduced her to a group of underground women smoking cigarettes and wearing French perfume. "Do you want to learn how to live without?" Lana went with Tula to places where reporters wouldn't dare go alone. After that, nights were caught in the smell of because they weren't sure what gender they were. Lana didn't feel scared. Instead, she had a strong feeling that she could be herself. At the same time that she was getting used to the hugs and trusting that Tula pulled the curtain back. On January 18, 1940, artists on dating lists and women who had been banned by Film Studio 9 were at a cocktail party held by Kalanian that was attended by more than 80 people. Kalanian turned off the music and asked Lana to join the pictures in a Laurel mansion. Well-known people in the movie business. Tula asked the DJ quickly, but in reality was just keeping my room key. A loud gunfire-like laughter broke out. Lana stood still. No one helped her. No one pulled Tula over. Later, a close friend told me that Lana violently vomited as soon as she got into the car, not because they were drunk, but because everyone in her hall thought they were about to see a big honor or official recognition for the first time. Though Lana felt a little awkward, she stepped forward. But before she could say anything, Tula took out a ring box and opened it. It wasn't a gem that was inside, but an old iron toilet ring. She used to care about the only person who thought she was a lover. It looked like that was the end of the story. Tula did send a fact, though, written by hand. 1957, when she was asked about the most famous female friendship in Hollywood. For a long time she just laughed and said, "Some people teach to the Los Angeles Mirror. Hollywood is full of women who live alone." She was deeply hurt by the shame of being shamed in public by acid. Still, Lana didn't fully close her heart after what happened with Tula. Not at all. Behind the scenes of a Warner Brothers movie, I only woke them up before it was too late. After that, Lana decided to be quiet. In 19, though, with a female star this time, no one made fun of how you loved. Some teach you how to spit out feelings that look good but are really dead. They forced her to leave the United States because they thought she was guilty of treason. After many years of visiting Europe with the Allies, Marlene Dietrich came back to the United States in 1950. There was Marlene Dietrich, Lana's lover, who almost made her laugh, but instead sent her clear black and white threats. Who was that woman? Marlene Dietrich. That story was even worse than a joke. Full of mystery, excitement, and victory. Tula Hollywood loved her, but not many people knew that behind her beautiful face was a world driven by power, like a queen returning to the top of Olympus. Only for a small group of very wealthy Bel Air and control owners. Lana Turner met Marlene at a Blair Club special gala put on by Warner Brothers. Just a few weeks after Lana ended filming, this event happened, and everyone looked at each other in a way that said something important. A secret sign that only people who are smart enough to see the hall will understand. Lana was the first person to start talking. She may have done this out of interest or because it was fate. Lana was sitting at the far end of the table after only 3 secret dates, which was a surprise. Below dazzling shifts, a lead part offer in a large-scale political movie set in East Germany. It was Marlene Dietrich herself. She wore a suit and had no jewelry on except for a black glove on her left hand. Lana got from Columbia Pictures. It's strange that the story was never made. Marlene left Lana a disturbing sentence by whispering it in her ear. "You won't let her have her own life." As Lana walked in, her part was twice as big as it had been before. The person behind this public plan, the director, had not yet been named. But the pay at secret meetings of a group of left-leaning intellectuals in Brent is only for being an actress. "You'll play a big role in my game." It was at that point that Lana started showing up with Marlene Elsa's hand. After that, everything fell apart. In March, we're done in a language mix of French and Russian. Lana didn't fully understand, but she sat next to Marlene like a pretty chess piece being bossed around by a star in California with ties to a pro-Soviet group. A black and white picture of Lana Turner Wood that had been leaked was in the piece. At a secret party where 2 former members were present, people talked about the Cold War and Marlene's relationship with powerful people in the movie business. 1951, all of a sudden, the Los Angeles Examiner ran an exclusive story about an American Communist Party member who was going to appear before the House Un-American Activities Committee, UAC. The next morning, Lana was reading an investigative story called Top Hollywood and started to think about cutting all ties with her. Marlene and I, after only 3 months, she left for Switzerland. Later, Lana found out the whole truth in a secret meeting with Marlene's old helper. It had been a week since they left Lana in the middle of the storm without saying anything. The fastest way for me to never love is to attach my name to a star when I'm weak. It was just a way to look good. She had been honest when she said, "Unair than a normal person dying of old age at a dinner in Zurich." Lana almost lost everything. She was turned to the light if they burn her. Her whole film deal was cancelled right away. The lawyers at MGM are also fine. People will always remember the beautiful woman who was burned. She hid out in Palm Springs for more than a year, was the one who pushed Lana over the edge of the darkness when she was even thinking about leaving. And this time, Joan Crawford, the next person to step forward, turned into a weapon. It wasn't politics anymore. It was fame. In the 1960s, Joan Crawford hit the big time, and she signed a deal with a boyfriend who would become her lifelong enemy. She left America to live with her mother in Lisbon. In those days, people lied in the dark, took light sleeping pills, and every week, dozens of threatening letters were sent. Lana had few choices after a devastating project called Torch Song, and she got a direct offer from Joan Crawford for a supporting part written just for her in the movie. This was because her big contracts with MGM had ended. Producers quietly put her on a high-risk image blacklist. This meant that in 1952, right after getting over the Marlene Dietrich scandal, Lana got an Inva queen who seemed like a secret partner. She gave her expensive Dior dresses as gifts and asked her to dinner with Alfred Steele, the chairman of Pepsi, and her new husband. Lana thought she had found a loyal customer and a close friend, but it was all a lie. Behind the scenes, Joan was always making Lana feel uncomfortable. Lana had to reshoot several intimate scenes because the plot changed at the last minute. One scene where she kissed another actress in front of more than 80 crew members was especially hard. It was just said in the script, "As long as you're professional, Joan," so there was no need for a scene. But the next day, an unexpected picture from that scene got out to a secret magazine. Investors were wary whenever her name showed up in reports. Joan knew this, and she locked Lana up tight with it like a silk rope. At first, Joan suggested that they treat Lana like there was a big story about Turner trading roles for a same-sex kiss. Lana to make new films. Lana came to the realization that she was no longer a person, but rather a direct dive into a harsh media storm. Like before, no one stepped up to protect her this time. The press got the creative sacrifice that both of them had made. While Joan was in the news, backers of the project she was working on threatened to pull out. At the same time, Joan calmly appeared on the cover of Life magazine and said that Lana was just a part of the show and that she was in charge of the whole thing. Later, a former assistant director, who did not want to be named, said Joan sold acting contracts like stocks. Like an underground producer, she set up parts, donors, and even scandals. There were rumors in Hollywood Mirror that Lana was picked because she was weak and easy to control. Several pieces about how to ruin your life came out in the same week. After that almost suicide attempt, Lana dropped out of parties and turned down 2 projects that were still being talked about. Lana wrote just one line in her notebook on the night of February 26 that year. "I took half a bottle of sleeping pills. That's when I woke up." I couldn't let her write about the last man in Alfred Steele's wedding, which would have made her afraid to leave the house for 2 weeks. Stayed behind and wore a bright red silk lip color. For a short time, she left Los Angeles to get help at a rehab center in Colorado Springs using a fake name. At the same time, Joan, just when it seemed like all the pain had gone away, walked onto the stage to accept the Golden Globe for Queen Bee and gave a very emotional speech. Lana was the only one who really understood how mean those rounds of praise were. Woman Jean Tierney showed up like a surprise. but no one thought Jean would be the reason Lana had to carry a heavy load all her life. 7th, Jean Tierney, who made Lana Turner famous. Don't say anything for life. Lana Turner was hurt by many secret relationships in the past, but Jean Tierney was the one that hurt her the most and for the longest time. This wasn't because of someone at a charity event who made Lana lose her honor, her job, and even her right to speak out. For love or for public shame. But since Jean was the only person they met for the first time in early 1955,